Hello, welcome to Why Spirituality, where we cover why humans have been historically interested in popular spiritual topics and how they could be useful to you in the now of your everyday life. My name is Nicole, and I'm an interactive energy artist mentor. I specialize in helping people on their journey of understanding their purpose. I think the process of exploring and reading energy, as well as consciously expressing your unique energy, is an art form, and also an amazing way to understand your purpose. So to get started with our first podcast, I would first like to dive into humanity's historical interest in spirituality. Humans are created for Earth as an experience vehicle that holds the largest amount of energy without overtaking Earth. This is made possible by the humans' perfected technology of streaming, commonly known as channeling, and also commonly misunderstood. We will talk more about this in future podcasts. For your information, this is all told in past tense for your easy listening, but please consider that all time is now, and these are all taking place in other dimensions. We will cover this more in future podcasts as well, and I also cover this frequently in all my content. When humans were fully in nature and of nature, they were streaming all their info from the natural systems of Earth, their creator, and their energy. There will be more on your energy found on my Patreon archive, and also I discuss this in my one-on-one sessions. The humans of this time received info about nature's systems, similar to animals and cryptids. You can also find more info on cryptids in the Patreon archives and my Q&A Fae and Cryptid TikTok series. But their expression of their energy was different because they would also have the added element of their own energy. So, a fresh perspective of the workings of Earth. With this perspective, they naturally want to bring/express their energy by translating it into ideas that then could be mixed together in collaboration with Earth, aka nature's systems. Some humans felt joy and worked with the systems of nature as well, while others suffered because they had so many steps to bring their energy to Earth. For example, a very specific musical tone requires musical theory, organizing sounds, and building the physical instrument. The humans who were suffering would throw fits of anger because they had no idea what to do or how to get started. Sometimes they would get so jealous of the happy, peaceful humans collaborating with nature that they would harm them. I'm going to cover original energies quickly because it's irrelevant to this podcast, but please check out Patreon and TikTok, a 4-part series called Who and What Are the Gods? Original energies are an extremely large consciousness holding all of your parallel lives, anchor points, and higher selves, deity job roles, and more. You can think of the original energy as Earth, and you as a human are the cell of a leaf. They are energetically large enough to become a full planet or make a copy of a part of their energy for a job role. The original energy began taking copies specialized to aid and guide the humans through these troubles. They would be sent in groups set up like a company specialized in specific concepts, acting as translators of bigger/abstract original energy information. From the human point of view, this was incremental and subtle, so it was seamlessly accepted as a normal way of life. Unfortunately, the humans continued to divide themselves further apart because these additional translators of their energy now understood how different they were. The humans sadly missed the intention of the original energies who thought humans understanding themselves better would show how perfectly they could work together, because even if they have different information and approaches to expression, they have to work or create new cycles as a translation and organization of infinity into finite matter. The humans divided themselves into 2 groups. The nature enthusiasts. These humans have original energy that already works with the nature cycles and an origination of nature. It's likely their energies are responsible for the systems in nature or really vibe with the nature concepts and creations of Earth. And also, 2, the system creators. These humans want to create their own cycles and systems completely fresh. They see nature's structure as a burden and an annoyance. These humans are connected to energies that have concepts that would be a great addition to Earth, but require many steps. The energies that the original energy created and sent started to take sides. And as they developed and had more experiences, they went rogue from their original job role and started using the avatar system, which is how big energies can bring all of their energy to Earth in a limited amount of space in what I call a soft spot. For more about avatars, please watch the class on Patreon called Aliens. I will quickly cover soft spots because it is relevant to the podcast, but please watch the class titled Soft Spots also on Patreon to go deeper. Soft spots are a manipulated portal, and a portal is a natural element. Now, knowing portals are one of the elements, we can consider the analogy of how we make ice out of water, which explains what I mean by a manipulated portal. So conceptually, if you picture a Venn diagram with 2 circles and the overlapping area, you can better understand a soft spot. Let's take a forest on another planet and a forest on Earth to represent the 2 circles. Avatars are created specifically, and they will enter their forest, and they will be both on Earth and their planet within each forest area. The soft spots then were not areas like a forest. There was way more energy, and they were able to adjust their energy like a zip file of their job role as a god. So, for example, Poseidon was able to be the sea and do whatever he wanted as a human. However, they weren't humans because they could change into anything that holds their energy of their god job role or what their original energy had created on Earth. So using Poseidon as an example again, he could be anything of the sea. For the humans working with nature, it was like having all of these tall people that could reach the top shelf for shorter people. The nature enthusiasts started giving them gifts and showering them with love and devotion. Meanwhile, the humans creating their own systems and cycles were now being ridiculed and became the underdogs. Because now, with the help of the nature gods, nature enthusiasts could have the gods become the ocean and crash whole lineages of system creators. The system creators continue taking revenge on nature enthusiasts, blackmailing their gods with all kinds of sacrifices. For example, they created the system of farming, which needs collaboration of nature cycles, and when their crops were not doing well, when they wanted, they would threaten a life. The system creators' gods saw how unhappy their humans were and attempted to petition the animal energies and other spiritual parts of nature to become a part of their energy. Some did agree because the humans were taking so much from habitats, domesticating animals, and farming plants. All of nature was bleeding. Fun fact, this is why you might notice some gods have the most random parts of nature associated with them. Humans and gods were tearing each other apart, just for different POVs of the same thing, and the original energies observing this destruction began to interfere. They hoped by doing so that they could assist humans in understanding that their differences are meant to work together for a common goal. So the original energies went into the job roles that the humans started to create from their original energies, and they wanted to impregnate or give birth to energies that would have direct connections to their godparents and their own energy. The female or masculine god would determine how the energy would be distributed, and the original energies didn't know how this would turn out on Earth. It was a desperate experiment. If the original energy was a masculine god, they would carefully select a human mother who was the opposite of their energy. This took time because of the gestation of a mother's pregnancy and development. These children were successful in bringing people together by the time they reached adulthood. Sadly, a lot of them didn't make it due to the wars and destruction going on. and the original energies experimenting didn't know this until it was too late. If the original energy was a female god, their energy was likely specialized in harmony, for example, Persephone. So she brought spring/nature and the afterlife as an otherworldly system concept. So Persephone would give their children both an energetic connection to nature and a fresh otherworldly systems look on the underworld. The female gods participating would idolize men because they wanted to try out this process as frequently as possible, and finding willing men was precious to them. These kids were born instantly, though, and while it sounded like a good idea, they were arrogant and lacked development and would go rogue, sometimes causing wars, destruction to villages, because they were thinking their fellow humans were so ignorant and beneath them. They would also seek out their mother to continue their line, and would continue until they had boys to keep their direct line. System creators had already successfully started civilizations, and humans began connecting through civilizations. Some had some more strict hierarchies, and some were more spiritual, so humans now divided themselves into 3 groups. 1, nature enthusiasts. 2, god, mother lineage, the beginning of patriarchy. And 3, humans who measure nature while considering the new human systems. Because of the abuse taking place of god job roles physically on Earth, Gaia had to limit the space allowance in dimensions where humans are developing, and allowed soft spots and avatars with many restrictions. Some dimensions, realities, and realms stayed as is, which were likely the ones where Fae and other large energies are already located. I will have a future podcast about both, but check out my Patreon for more on that as well. In the realms of Earth where the gods reside, Satan, as we nicknamed later, was created as an adversary to provide checks and balances like HR. Satan would oversee and prevent any abusive possibilities that a god job role would be capable of. The system has sentience like everything and can be experienced both as a being or a holder of a preventative systematic rule restriction. Every god job role has their own Satan. This is why we have the stories of a god getting mad or challenging some sort of Satan figure. It's the child lock for gods. All the ancient figures of Christianity, for example, Mother Mary, the Sacred Heart, archangels, Asherah, Yahweh, are a few energies and symbols representing the groups that came to help the system of civilization. For this group to help, they would have to connect with willing humans. Not all realities pick this up, but there are realities where Yeshua and Mary Magdalene accepted this. Their message that they spread was, we are all one, and to go within to see how we are all connected and where you fit in. Some realities were affected so greatly that they understood more about everything from learning about their own energy, and this reality didn't subscribe to one history. We are currently in the reality where we do subscribe to a very strict historical timeline. This timeline does not include Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and we are getting, at best, secondhand channeled information about them. We will discuss Christianity deeper in a future podcast. Let's now continue down our branch of strict historical reality, which branches off as angels and demons. Find more about angels and demons in my TikTok content, Patreon content, and workbooks, and also future podcasts. All the cultures that picked one god propelled problems forward, from the POV wars, god wars, and human civilization creation problems. Not only were new job roles being created from humans' problems through gods, but they also rejected all the other god job roles, missing out on guidance and suggestions for everyday life. So pieces began to form from the gods and were called good luck, bad luck, evil, and good spirits. Humans started to be so closed off from their connections as they got deeper into their creation of civilization that they stopped understanding any and all energies are coming to help. The gods are no longer allowed to take advantage in physical form, thanks to what humans have recently nicknamed Satan. Around the medieval periods, worldwide, the consequences of civilization have started to take their toll on humans. For example, disease and famine. Despite the new restrictions of gods, the medieval humans have still inherited the instinctual fear of magical controlling beings. This includes fae and other beings holding extra large amounts of energy, which I have videos on my Patreon and TikTok archives. Keep an eye out for future podcasts as well. The humans express these inherited fears by blaming unknown forces, such as bad luck and evil spirits. Due to the plagues and famine, everyone longed for cleanliness, leadership, and luxury, and praised humans, gods, and angels as holy, good, pure. They were unaware that they were idolizing infinite beings and people from privilege who had access to hygiene, large castles, security, and leisure. Around 1450 to 1750, women, sometimes called cunning folk, medicine women, and priestesses, were helping villagers with their natural, medical, and spiritual needs. In a way, they were like the nature gods, but in human form, channeling information about nature and the human condition, guiding people through the unknown. Religions with one god, built for helping with human civilization structures, were lacking what these women were providing. Some leaders of religions and or the civilization felt threatened by this because people would start to question why their religion didn't explain everything. Keep in mind, at the time, civilizations were obsessed with categorizing animals and everything in nature. So these men took these observations, studied folklore, the stories of the gods, mixed it with the medieval fears of evil spirits, and from this started creating grimoires full of demon profiles. Yes, you heard correctly. These men created an identification book of how to contact demons and who each demon is as evidence to trap and persecute the people who provided help and answers to topics one god religions could not answer. They then identified them with the nickname given to them of witches. They created grimoires as proof of their danger and primary basis for execution. The same leaders decided to concentrate on mixing scientific methods and human civilizations into education, calling this the Enlightenment period. They imprisoned the same woman that they accused originally as dangerous and a threat, now for fraud. So in summary, they categorized these women as dangerous, set them up by creating fearful entities from god job roles and fae folklore, and then said, oops, just kidding, you're all fake criminals. Some of you might be interested in more. There are some demons that would like to rejoin the rest of the god job role that they came from, and you can learn more about what Buer has to say in my archive series on TikTok called Practicing with Energies. Now, let's wrap up the history section of why spirituality and finish with our recent history that affects spirituality so much today. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, humans start to look into fairies, death, ghosts, and astrology in the West. And this is sort of the beginning of what I call the commercialization and getting proof obsession in spirituality. This is taking the infinity of spirituality and attempting to make it finite. Finite is a beginning, a middle, and an end, and getting a desired outcome from the process that you've taken. But in this period, their focus is to capture infinity, other dimensions, realities in photography and scientific methods. Don't get me wrong, these new systems and tools were groundbreaking for finite systems. But for infinite, this started to brew the obsession for proving everything. Fast forward to the 1970s through 1990s. Westerners went to the East and were able to learn all the processes and ancient knowledge. They were having profound experiences, which helped them enormously and blew their minds. When they came back home, they cherry-picked from all the complex and varied processes that they experienced. And to be honest, it's not humanly possible to bring back a full experience. But they could have truly impacted people with their own energy, though. But they didn't know this because they were thinking in a commercial way. There were people who loved and followed these people blindly because they had to rely on their leader's memory or what they chose to share to gain any extra knowledge that they might need. There were also people who expected proof because in their mind, our strict reality is, well, strict. So people in the past were ignorant and we know better. They say we know better. They would say something like, so if you still think this is relevant, I expect proof of what you say and what the ancient people saw and talked about. Can it be proven in history? The people who originally had mind-blowing experiences without going within started to doubt themselves. Some pretended to be scientists. Some started to study something that had a degree, hoping it would establish their credentials while continuing to practice spirituality. Some created processes like other religions with hierarchies, feeling superiority, gatekeeping knowledge, which unfortunately results in people relying on their leaders' every word. If you enjoyed this podcast, there will be a part 2 coming soon, and it will be about why spirituality for you now. Why is it relevant now? And this is kind of the way all the podcasts will be set up. So I hope to see you soon in a podcast on one of my lives, which are held on Wednesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. You can book a one-on-one with me to explore your energy further and ask any questions. They're an hour long. And also, I hope to see you join Patreon so you can see the archive of everything. And I'd be happy to hear your questions as well, because in the future I'd like to do some podcasts with people's questions. So feel free to add any questions you might have. Thank you for listening. Bye.